We get the opening credits for the first time in this episode, and I think it's fair to say that reusing the original Game of Thrones opening theme seems a bit off. If this show is going to forge its own path and its own individuality, it should have a theme that reflects its own, presumably different themes and tone here. It'd be weird if TOS had the same opening theme as DS9, or if TNG had the same opening theme as Voyager. It would just seem weird and disingenuous. This episode is bookended with these beautiful little glimpses of this new character, the crab feeder. He's scarred by grayscale and covered in this brutal mask. These little tiny moments here do well to intensify my interest into this new and ominous character. Rhaenyra then offers her opinion as to how to deal with Daemon in the King's Council, but she's brushed off by everybody and given the lesser task of picking a Kingsguard. She chooses Sir Criston Cole, going against Sir Otto's recommendations for playing the political game, and it's interesting to see these new relationships being developed and this larger political game starting to develop more.
My father should be defended by a man who's known real combat. Should he not?
Of course, Princess.
So Viserys isn't actually building these stone cities, he's just designing them. Even in his recreational time, he seems slightly emasculated, eh?
It is truly wondrous what you've built.
Oh, no. I only pore over the histories and provide the plans. The stonemasons build the structures.
As big and beautiful and as expensive as this show looks, the sea snake's dreadlocks just look like cheap pipe cleaners to me, eh? That's not what real dreadlocks look like in the real world. I think maybe if they weren't just one tone, if they had more like darker parts in them and you could see like dirt and life, like they'd been lived in, like they've been made over decades, like they've been out on the sea, it'd do more to make them look more realistic. But even like the shape of them and the body of them, it just looks wrong. I know this is a small detail that a lot of people won't pick up on probably, but every time I see this guy's dreadlocks, it just completely pulls me out and I just can't help but thinking, that's not what dreadlocks look like, man.
I wish to apologize for the tenor at the small council today, Your Grace. It was not my intent to make offense.
In any case, dreadlocks aside, the sea snake and his wife, the queen that never was, actually offer the king a very good deal here. They want to tie their houses together and marry their daughter off to the king. This would strengthen both of their names and further solidify the king as a power within the realm. It's the logical decision to make, but I mean, we'll see what Viserys will choose to do.
With the Targaryen dragons and the Valyrian fleet bound in blood, you can show the realm that the crown's strongest days are ahead, not behind.
Viserys seems to be rotting away as a result of sitting on the throne. This character is becoming more and more interesting to me. His inner turmoil, his inability to connect with his daughter, and his seemingly predetermined fate to fail as a king is very enduring and interesting to me.
The maggots will remove the dead flesh and hopefully stop the advance of the rot.
Our struggling king then has an interaction, a meeting with his possible queen-to-be. This is so cringy and so awkward, and it ends in the incredibly dark line of, I wouldn't have to bed you till I was 14. Goddamn, that line is just so very dark.
What did your mother tell you?
That I wouldn't have to bed you until I turned 14.
Men would rather put a torch to the realm than see a woman ascend the Iron Throne. The Queen that never was gives Rhaenyra this confronting advice here as she talks about the king's new future heirs and how a male one will challenge her authority because of the larger ideals within the realm. Rhaenyra at first seemed reluctant to take on this responsibility and be the heir, but now that her power is threatened, she seems to be more determined, scared yet determined to keep this power and rule.
His new wife will produce new heirs, and chances are better than not that one of those will be male. And when that boy comes of age and your father has passed, the men of the realm will expect him to be heir, not you.
The situation between the king and his renegade brother then intensify after Daemon took Dragonstone and sat on it for 6 months trying to get some reaction out of his brother. He ended up breaking into King's Landing and stealing the dragon's egg that was placed in his brother's son's crib before the child was born, and then died shortly afterwards. This obviously enrages the king, who wants to rush into action, but Sir Otto talks him down and says that he will go and confront Daemon. This situation is now swirling with suspense.
I will go to Dragonstone and drag Daemon back to face justice
Your
myself.
Grace. My apologies, Your Grace, but I cannot allow it. It's too dangerous.
I think Alicent chewing her nails is a really subtle yet sophisticated way of showing her character's inner turmoil. She's being forced by her father to seduce and groom the king, and instead of her blurting out to somebody in some big show of dialogue of her inner conflict and all the stress she has welled up inside her, they just show this little physical detail of her chewing at her nails. It's a really clever way to show what's going on in the character's head.
Why do you destroy yourself?
We get this massive reveal of the sky bridge at Dragonstone, and even though this set piece was 90% digital, I still think it had the validity and the realism to make it feel big and epic and real. For me, every sequence that Matt Smith is in, he seems to steal. His character, this darkened, arrogant, slightly unhinged, hurt, burnt, immature character is the most interesting so far for me. And it's great to see Matt Smith finding success on this big, massive television show after Doctor Who. He managed to move away from that and do something on a larger scale, probably. It's really nice for me to see him move from one show to the next and not just crumble under the weight of the Doctor.
I will not have Driftmark beggared while our king idles himself with feasts and balls and tourneys.
I will speak of my brother as I wish. You will not.
Caraxes, the bloodworm, then crawls out, revealing himself in the middle of this massive showdown, spiking the suspense. I love the design of this dragon. He's malformed and elongated into this long, worm-like eel character. He's all gangly and weird, but still incredibly menacing. Rhaenyra then bests Daemon and de-escalates this situation, which was most probably going to end in violence. Because of her close relationship to her uncle, she's able to understand his motivations and speak more to his logical impulses. It was also a nice showing of Rhaenyra's progression and her abilities in negotiation. Couple months ago, 6 months ago, when her mum died, she was just a cupbearer who had no want or need for power or the crown. But now she seems to be taking on the burden and taking on the responsibility and kind of rising to it in this situation.
If you wish to be restored as heir, you'll need to kill me. So do it. And be done with all this bother.
The king and his daughter then get this little character moment where they're finally able to connect. They lament over their lost queen, and the king states that he's gonna keep Rhaenyra as his heir, even if he has more children born in the future. It was a nice little character moment where we all know this relationship is gonna spiral into chaos and bloodshed in the near future.
I do not wish to make us estranged.
You are the king. And so your first duty is to the realm.
The king then reveals that he's going to marry Alicent Hightower, alienating his daughter, enraging the sea snake, and weakening his kingdom. Oh, the interpersonal and political drama of it all. The sea snake then meets with Daemon, wanting to combine their forces and to take on the crab feeder. The decision that the king made, choosing his heart over his head, has now made this dark alliance against him, and I look forward to these two scorned people, the sea snake and Daemon, who have been burnt by the king, consolidating their power and taking on this poor, weak, broken, confused and naive man.
Our worth is not given. It must be made.
In conclusion, I really liked this episode. I thought it was well written. I thought it developed all the relationships and the political intrigue further. And most of all, I was engaged and I want to see more. I mean, at this point in time, you really can't ask for much more. It's part 2 of a 10-part series, so it's going to play out rather slowly, but I think the payoffs will be far more fulfilling if it does take its time with all the little character moments and make all the political plays more complex and more compelling. So I look forward to House of the Dragon, and I hope that at least this first season is satisfying. I think if they can do 2, 3, or maybe even 4 seasons and wrap it up beautifully, then that will be some kind of redemption to, well, let's not talk about anything else, yeah? Some kind of redemption. Thank you for watching. I'll most probably see you all next week.